Hi, this is Shanna with Florabella Collection, and in this video I'll be showing you how I edited this photo using the new Florabella Trinity Actions and also a couple cloud overlays which for a limited time come as a free bonus with the Trinity set. So here is one of the edits. Here's the second one. There are two different clouds, and this is the original image. So as you can see, the original image is not square. I extended the canvas to square and added clouds. I may actually do a third edit in this video where I add one of the newer cloud overlays that actually happens to be my favorite one. So let's get started. Here's the original. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to extend that canvas. So the way I do that, there's a couple different ways to do it, but my favorite way is I go to Image, Canvas Size. Now here you'll find that your canvas size is displayed. I choose in my preferences to have my units in pixels, but what you want to do is make sure that the width and the height match. So I'm going to bring my height up to 4200 and I want it to extend up. So I'm going to choose this bottom square, and that way whatever pixels are added are going to be added to the top right up here. And as far as the color, just because I'm going to be adding a cloud overlay and I might not add it at 100%, I want the color to kind of match. So I'm just going to click right up here, click OK, OK, and then it's going to extend your canvas. Now you'll see that there's a little mark right here, and there's a few different ways that you can deal with that. I'm going to duplicate my background here, and I'm just going to take my patch tool. I'm just going to draw around that line right there and just bring it up, and it's going to blend it for me. Okay, and deselect, and that actually looks pretty good. Another method you could do is you could use your clone tool, and I have it right about 50%. Click Alt or Option and click a space that you want to sample from and just blend it in. I think that's fine as long as there's no obvious seam. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten. Now I like to add my clouds before I edit. That way whatever artistic effects or actions I add on top will also affect the clouds, and I can erase the action from the cloud with my layer mask if I want to from certain layers, but it just gives me more control. So most of the time I would say I add the clouds beforehand. So the way to add the clouds is super easy. You have to know where they are on your computer. You go to File, Place Embedded. If you're on a version of Photoshop that's earlier, I think, than CS6, it'll just say Place. File, Place, and then go in and choose the clouds that you want. I'm going to choose this one. Okay, and we're just going to bring it up. We can move it later. Just keep it right about there. And I'm going to reduce my opacity so I can see where it's at. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to add a layer mask down here. Choose my layer mask and a black foreground and my brush. I go to 100%. And I'm going to erase that 100% off of her face and hair and the ocean. Okay, then what I like to do is just lower the opacity down to 30 or so and just erase a little bit so it's just the transition is gradual. Make sure it's all off of her skin. Okay. So I'm going to keep it, let's say, 70%. And what I'm going to do is take a snapshot. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and flatten. And then I'm going to come over here and run an action called Lace. Lace is my go-to action if I want a pastel or kind of desaturated, light, hazy look. It also has a couple of optional layers. it has some pastel layers. It has a Tiffany blue layer, which I'm going to use on my ocean and my clouds to turn the blue to more of a Tiffany teal. And that's called Pastel Teal Water and Sky. And also has a pastel pink that I can use to make my pinks pinker. Okay. And straight out of the box, that's what it does. We're going to go in and tweak it. It also has an optional black and white layer. Okay, so now I'm going to start tweaking my action. There's a smoky lace layer that kind of gives a smoky vignette. I'm going to turn that on and keep that at about 12% or so. And I'm going to lighten it up a bit. So I want her skin to be light and creamy. So I'm going to lighten that up. If you want, you can go in with your black brush and erase some of that from the clouds so the clouds are more intense. Okay, I think that looks fine. There's the hazy tone layer. You can certainly experiment with that. I'll probably bring that up to about 85 or so. Now on this pastel teal water and sky, the action kind of does a little bit of that for you, but I'm going to go in here and show you what that does. It really makes the water pastel blue, and I'm going to add some just so her shirt kind of matches a little bit. Just add some of those tones here, and then you can go into the layer and just tweak the layer. And I'm going to bring that to about 35 or so. Make it really subtle. There's a rosy wash layer. You want to make it more of a rosy color. I'm going to keep that at about 8%. Here's the boost layer. I'll keep that the way it is. And there's a vibrance layer, and I'm just going to bring that up a little bit just to increase the vibrance of her skin tone. So let's go back down here to the shadow brightening layer. I just like to sometimes see what these layers do on a particular image. I'm going to bring that up a little bit and just bring the lighten layer up a little bit more. There's also a peach tone layer which could affect her skin. I want her skin to be real peachy against the blue background. You'll also find a color brush, and you can just paint with white over any areas where you want to accentuate the color. I think we'll make her little headband pop and her little blouse pop a little bit more. So we have before and after. And that really brightened it up. It's very sweet pastel. I do need to add some blush brush to her cheeks. I'm going to come down to my tools and finishes in Trinity, and I'm going to run an action called blush brush. And with my white brush, I'm going to zoom in and just paint little rosy cheeks. I'm going to decrease the opacity. I just want to be able to see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. Just about 17% or so. And then I could go, if I wanted to sharpen her lashes, which I think I do, I'm just going to go into my workflow and retouch brushes. That's an optional set that is an add-on to Trinity, and I'm going to use my, here we go, the quick sharpen for lashes. And I'm just going to zoom in here so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to paint with white. I'm going to bring that above the shadow brightening layer so that we can actually see it. Okay, and that's a little too intense, so I'm just going to bring it up to about 25%. Okay, there's one more thing that I can show you, and that is after you've edited, you can also blend your clouds. I'm going to choose this one. This is my favorite cloud texture. Look how pretty that is with all the swirls. It just reminds me of a storm. I love that swirl and the cloud here, so I'm just going to click OK. And again, I'm going to lower the opacity so I can know where to erase. I'm going to add a layer mask down here and paint with black. So you can add clouds after the fact. Again, I'm going to lower my opacity here. You just have to make sure that you blend it with the tones. So in knowing, see, okay, that would be full blast. And do you see how it just completely changes the look of it when you blend it? So what I want to do is just bring in a little bit of that light. So I'm going to just paint away a little bit in the center here. Just bring in some of that light. Okay, and if you think you took too much off, you can just go back with your white and click back over that to blend it. And because the rest of the image is warmer than that cloud overlay, I'm going to go into my Trinity add-ons and add the action called Honey Child. And Honey Child is one of my favorite actions. So it actually looks pretty on the whole image if I just darkened it up a bit. But I'm going to leave that on top. And what I'm going to do is just use a layer mask. So I'm going to go over here to my layer mask tool, and I'm going to make sure it starts with black. So I click the little reverse to change it. And I don't want that layer too much on the lower part of my photo, so I'm just going to draw a layer mask like that. You see what that does? It gives the honey child effect to the top and not the bottom, so it just brightens it up a little bit. And if you find that the top is too light, you can go back down here to the lighten layer and just erase more of that. Oops, I'm only at 13%. To bring more of your clouds in. Okay, so here is, let's see, the before, extending the canvas and adding the clouds, and then the final edit. So Florabella Trinity Actions and the new workflow and retouch brushes can be found at FlorabellaCollection.com. Thanks for watching.